Hi, this is Matthew Robert Payne. I did a long teaching, about 12 hours, around about this subject, and some people might not have endured the 12 hours. We're going to talk about this little boy and little girl. Little boy's helping his little sister interact with animals and encounter the supernatural. So this is going to be called Keys to Experiencing the Supernatural. We're going to have a look at Matthew 7, verse 7 to 11. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and him who knocks it'll be open. Or what man is there among you, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for fish, will give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, what you want men to do to you, you also do to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at the supernatural. Now, I'm not really sure when the supernatural happened in my life. One of the keys I feel to the supernatural is obeying the commands of God, the commands of Jesus. I think another key is intimacy with Jesus. I sense that when you're a close friend of Jesus, he'll introduce you to his other friends. Can you imagine making a friend in your workplace, and you're spending time with your friend in your workplace, perhaps going to lunch with your friend, spending time at lunch, perhaps on a Friday night, going out for drinks with your friend, perhaps on the weekend sometime, meeting up with your friend and going to lunch. After a while, after you've been out to lunch at work, after you've been to drinks with your friend on a Friday night, after you've met up with your friend on the weekend and gone to lunch or gone to a movie or something, there'll come a stage where your friend will love you so much, they'll start to trust you for you to meet the other friends of theirs. So your friend, after a while, when they trust you, when they're comfortable with you, will start to introduce you to their other friends. And this is what I feel Jesus has in store for you. It wouldn't make sense for Jesus to introduce you to the angelic if you're going to run off and serve the angelic, if you're going to run off and be enamored by the angelic, if you're going to run off and start to worship or have some sort of unholy allegiance to the angelic, it would not make sense for Jesus to introduce you to angels if you're going to run off and start to have some sort of weird sort of relationship with them. So I sense that these verses hold the key to the supernatural. I sense that these verses speak toward the supernatural. I sense that a lot of people would desire to meet with saints, meet with angels, meet with God, meet with Jesus. And Jesus compels us here in verse 7 and 8 to ask, seek, and knock. Now, that would refer to many other things also. In John 15, it says that when you abide in Jesus, you can ask whatever you wish, and that'll be done for you. So there's in John 15, there's a condition for asking and receiving, and John 15 says abide, and when you're a person who abides, you're a person who is obeying the teachings of Jesus, the commandments of Jesus. You abide by obeying. So if you apply John 15 to these verses, it essentially means you need to be a disciple of Jesus, someone who's knows what Jesus taught and who's actually walking in it and obeying it and getting by and spending time doing what Jesus said to do. Sometimes I switch on the video and I get itchy everywhere, and you can probably notice that as I'm shifting around and itching myself. So I shared in the longer video that haven't learnt any way to effectively test the spirit. Some people say you ask the spirit or angel or saint that you have an encounter with, did Jesus Christ come in the flesh? I'm pretty sure that I've asked that question of an entity and still had a false entity fool me. And one person asked me, how do I know it was a wrong entity? Well, because they said something was going to happen in my life and it didn't happen. They said a mistruth that I was able to come onto. So I sort of listened to wrong entities, and if what they're saying doesn't line up with the character of Jesus or the fruit of it, the prophecy or the thing they say doesn't line up to be true, then I know it's false. What I trust is this verse, and this is the reason I'm sharing this verse, that, what man among you does his son ask for bread, does he give him a stone? Or what if he asks for fish, will give him a serpent? You then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children. How much more will the Father give to those who is in heaven, give good things to those who ask him? So I tend to rely on that verse. I've still been deceived. I've had false saints. I've had a Mary Magdalene appear to me multiple times that wasn't Mary Magdalene. I've had a false Jesus. I've had a entity pretend to be Jesus and turn out not to be Jesus. I've had false angels appear to me and deceive me. So this verse hasn't proven to be completely true in my life, but I do know Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good for those who love God and called according to his purpose. So I understand that there can be better purposes of God at play than what I initially realized. There can be larger reasons, larger purposes at play. So who am I to judge the Lord and say, well, you said this, that you won't give a stone to a son who asks for bread. You won't give a fish, a serpent to a son that asks for a fish. Interesting there that he's talking about bread and fish. That's what the little boy gave to Jesus, bread and fish, and that's the same sort of thing that Jesus is talking about here. So there's a song, trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey. So I'd encourage you to trust the Lord. I encourage you in Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those who love God and called according to his purpose. I didn't really suffer much when I was deceived. I wasn't really hurt that much when I've been deceived in the past. And I have to say that the more you encounter good and bad, the sharper your discernment becomes of these things. So I hope that encourages you. I've been tremendously encouraged by saints from heaven. I've been tremendously encouraged by having angels visit me and having saints from heaven visit me. I've been really encouraged meeting Jesus and meeting the Father and talking to the Holy Spirit. It's been really encouraging for me, and I wouldn't swap it. I wouldn't turn it off. I wouldn't say switch off the supernatural, Lord. I don't want anything to do with the supernatural because I've been deceived before, and I don't want to be deceived. I encourage you to go forth and request it and walk into it. And my life is a whole lot richer, and I'm a whole lot more intimate with Jesus after the encounters and because of the encounters. And I pray that that can happen in your life too. I hope this was helpful for you. Please vote thumbs up and leave a comment.